Hey guys, welcome back to the Salt Lake City Crusaders YouTube channel. I'm Austin. Today we're going to be talking about pros and cons of different types of helmets.
What's up, y'all? I'm O2. I'm one of the fighters on the team. I also help organize all of the trainings for the team.
And I'm Grant. I've been fighting on the team for quite a while now, and yeah.
So, one of the most important things within our sport, of course, is choosing what style of helmet. Many people say that after getting just a couple of pieces of your soft kit, that the very next thing that you should be getting is your helmet. It will decide a lot of the regional allowances for what you're going to be able to wear. It's going to dictate what time period of things that you're going to wear, and it has just such a huge effect on your performance. It'll affect your visibility, your breathing, how much protection you have. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of start with just a couple of the helmets on the team. And we're going to start with helmets that were made in the earliest time periods and move over to the later time period helmets that we have.
So, first off, we got this one right here. This is a great helm. And as you can see, this one's very beat up. This is a very old helm. It's been in the team for quite a while. It has really good visibility, as you can see how far these eye slots come out, as well as the straight down design of the helmet and all of the holes that go around make it so it's very breathable in it. That's two things that you really want to look for in a helmet. Is you want to pay attention to how much visibility you have and how much breathability there is in it.
Yeah, as I put it on, I can immediately feel the kind of downward angle front of the face. As I breathe outwards, it blows the air down so that I'm not sucking in my own CO2. And then the specific way that these eye holes have been put out with the bars, I actually have really far peripheral vision. I can see all the way over here, all the way over here, and then with the holes in the face, I can see down here and I can see my feet. And for those of you who like to do grappling in your fighting, if you feel like you're going to be tying up with people a lot, it's important to be able to see people's feet. Anything else to add, Grant?
So this helmet has a couple really good things about it, and that is, one, it is beefy. If you look at it, it is just big. And if you make it thick and you have proper padding in there, you can take quite a beating. And this is one of the earlier, I can say, there are various types of great helms, and it was used for quite a span of time. And they were typically very big and large, and they even often wore other metal caps underneath inside the helmet. And so they're very big and large. And so when you get a big helmet, it is usually pretty heavy. And so this helmet is not small, it's not super light. It doesn't have all that good mobility that you would say. And so if you're going to have a helmet like this, you have to be prepared for having a very heavy amount of weight up on the very top. And so that's going to bring your center of gravity up, making it a little harder to keep your balance just with any heavy helm.
Yeah.
It is. And so this one is going to be heavy. And this one, in fact, has a flatter top. It's not entirely pointed like you see some of these other ones. And so that will stick weapon strikes onto the helmet. Now, if it is as thick and padded as well as it should be, you're not going to feel those. And the wearers of this helmet actually rarely feel those big helmet strikes, or those big weapon strikes on the helmet.
Yeah. So let's sum it up really quick so that we can make sure our viewers understand. So what we were saying is, for pros, generally good visibility depending on the exact styling you do for the eyes. Generally good breathing. You're not going to be sucking in much CO2. But as you were saying, with the specific shaping on this helm, certain hits will transfer a little more heavily because of the exact shape. We know that a lot of helmets have been designed around to stop that from happening. And the helmet itself is bulky. You're going to be putting a lot of weight on your neck, which ultimately can lead you to kind of burning out a little faster. Is that right?
Yes, and then you will be using an older kit for this. You're not going to be wearing those fancy full breastplates or anything. You'll typically be wearing older coat of plates or a little bit earlier time periods. We're talking 13th century, maybe early 14th century, that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
for these helmets.
As well as one more thing with this one, it doesn't have any neck protection on it, so you will be needing a gorget with this one, or some alternative neck protection. You'll have to protect your neck and your spine.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know what a gorget is yet, it is generally this cuff that you wear around your neck. It'll normally go at least a little bit over the shoulder, and it'll be made generally of leather with some metal plates underneath or inside of it if they've been fully wrapped. So we're going to be moving on to what is arguably the most popular helmet in America. It's called the Griffin Helm. It is so sport optimized for so many different reasons. Here we go. So here's a couple of views of it so you guys can see. There are a number of reasons why this would be considered one of the most popular. O2, what are a couple of things that you immediately know about the Griffin Helm that make it so popular here in America?
Basically the look. It looks really mean. It looks intimidating, as well as it has a visor. Now this visor opens up, which makes it so it's very easy to catch your breath after you're just done a round. And the breathability I hear are really good on them, as well as the visibility.
Yeah, I'd put this on myself, but the head size on this one is a little small for me. So does every single Griffin have a visor, or can you get these without?
So when we say Griffin, we're actually talking about a subtype of bassinet, or bassinet, however you pronounce it. And so when we talk about a bassinet, this is the helmet shape that we're talking about. And both these two have the same helmet style. Now a Griffin is a visored bassinet, and so you're going to find the nasals like over here, the hound skulls, various types, but a Griffin is this type of visor that you see. And so one of the things about it that makes it so easy to breathe is the angle of this visor. And now when we were talking about the Great Helm, how it kind of helps expel that CO2 and whatever you're breathing out downward, this helps do the same exact thing. And so when you breathe out and down, it'll kind of move away from your body, as well as just the overall shape helping with the glancing blows. The bassinets were originally kind of developed from the undercap underneath the Great Helms that we were talking about, and then they kind of turned into this pointed helmet shape that you see, which really helps deflect those blows that you take onto your head. And so you're not going to feel those strikes stick into your head. The visor allows you to breathe in between, and it helps expel, as well as give you an ample amount of vision through the holes in the face and the eye bars and everything.
Yeah. So you also see on here, this is our first helmet that has an aventail. So we talked a little bit about with the Great Helm that you need some form of neck protection. If you have a helmet that's just straight with nothing around the neck, then you're going to need a gorget. But a lot of helmets will have an aventail, which is simply an additional layer of protection for the neck. This one specifically, you can see that there is a cloth coif that is sewn into the helmet, goes a little bit onto the shoulder, and then has chainmail so that it'll bring that protection over here. So when you're getting hit on the shoulder, the axe strikes, sword strikes, whatever it is, don't slide in and hit you on the neck. So as far as what we were saying as well, great vision on this guy. It really, Griffins can have all sorts of different eye holes exactly done into them. This one is fairly common where it does wrap around a lot, giving you great peripheral vision, great breathing, great look. So I think it's pretty apparent why it's one of the most popular helmets here in America.
If you do get this helmet though, you must note the point on the top will add a little bit of height to your head. So if you like to do a lot of duels, you're doing sword and shield, you're doing sword and buckler, longsword, whatever it be, just notice that you will take a lot more of those strikes on the top of your head because the helmet stands taller. That helps in melees because you deflect those axes, but at the same time in a duel, when that longsword clips the top of your helmet, you will lose a point. And so they all have their pros and cons. This is lighter than the Great Helm. It deflects blows better, stands a little taller, but it has great breathability. And as one of the most popular helmets of the 14th century, you'll probably find the bassinets in general as some of the most popular and common, as well as inexpensive.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we haven't talked about makers. We want to make sure that we are giving due diligence where it's due. Do you know who made this Great Helm over here, O2?
This particular one, I believe, was made by Ryan Weaver. He's one of our local blacksmiths that lives up in Idaho.
Yeah, and then this one here is made by Jacob Omer. He's one of the oldest members of the armored combat community here in America. He is generally becomes the national longsword champion at national level tournaments, and has also fought internationally. All right, we're going to be moving on to the next helmet in the group, which is actually my helmet. So, I'll start off talking about this bad boy right here. He has been given quite a bit of love. You can see a lot of denting, and I'll explain a little bit of that why. So once again, this is a bassinet, as Grant was describing. Bassinet specifically referring to the shape of the head, and then it's a nasal bassinet. I think you guys can guess why. It gives you a little bit of Squidward face. Has the big nose along the front. This helmet is one of the most controversial helmets in the United States. There is a lot of love and hate for it, and it normally comes down to what we in the biz call the fashion souls. Or in other words, people really care about how they look in their armor. Some people hate it, some people love it. Can you expound a little bit more on that, Grant?
So this helmet, many people find to be very ugly, myself included. But it does have its benefits. So as we were saying before, it carries all the benefits that the bassinets have. So the angled design of the helmet really helps avoid those big strong hits. But what makes this different is that, one, the big nose helps provide the face protection. So when you take those shield strikes or those punches to the face, those axes to the face, it protects it. Now we do have a cage in here behind around where the eyes are for protection. So historically that would be open, but we put in eye bars to make sure that it's safe to use for the sport. And then of course the chainmail coming up above the mouth and chin. This does offer great protection if the shape does come around to where your peripherals are. It helps you see through all of that chainmail and especially breathe. And so it'll breathe a lot better than some of the other ones. It's easier to breathe through a little bit of chain than it is to breathe through a variety of holes in your face.
Yeah. One thing that I can say that, at least to me with this specific shape, the vision is basically unmatched. You can see that the holes go all the way to the back side of the head, which when someone's charging you and you only have to barely turn your head to be able to see them, it saved me from getting taken out of matches because I can prepare for those hits instead of getting blindsided. The breathing, I can 100% say is there. The only caveat to that, though, is, as you can see from the big nasal plate, your mouth does normally land about right here if you go with this style of nasal. So if you breathe straight into it, it actually doesn't breathe super, super well. You have to breathe at a slight angle to the right, to the left, or slightly down, and then it breathes really good. And then, exactly as you said, I don't know how close we can get with the film on this, but there's some serious dents. Now, this does use mild steel, which we have a video about different steel types and how they perform. Mild does get a little more crumbly in the fights, but it saved me. I've never gotten a concussion in it. I love it. So let's make sure to watch that other video on metal types if you want to know a little bit more about how the metal performs. And then nasals, always use Aventails. Helps give that neck protection. I have a huge Aventail on mine. I could probably actually get rid of a little bit of this to cut down on weight. And then I personally like having a huge coif. Mine goes over my shoulder by like nearly a full 10 inches. So I get a lot of protection that way. Anything you'd want to add about the nasal helm, O2? O2 also uses a nasal helm.
Yeah. So I really like my nasal helm. It works really good for the breathability, right? Just like Austin said, as long as you're breathing down to the sides. The one thing that I do not like, however, is if you can turn the helm.
There we go.
Is how the Aventail is actually connected to the helmet. These little pieces, they get broken off, and that, to me, that's just annoying. I have to keep replacing them.
Yeah, you can see on mine that I have broken off a couple of them along here, and I need to do some repairs on that.
But for most Aventails, that's what you're going to run into. There are a couple Aventails that are not attached this way, but most of them generally are. As well as the points. I don't like the point because the duals, when I do duals, that's normally where I get clipped. Other than that, I love my nasal helm.
Yeah, and then just to clarify for price, because we've talked about this, so great helm, very cheap. The bassinets, good solid medium to medium low for price. And then my helm is also a Ryan Weaver special. once our blacksmith in Idaho. So bassinets in general will be a little bit cheaper. If you don't have a movable visor, that tends to cut a little bit off the price. Our fourth helmet for today is going to be the pig face bassinet. This helmet used to be the helmet of Grant here. He did upgrade to the one that we're going to be talking about last, so we're going to have him talk about the pig snout first and give us the facts that we're looking for.
So I used this helmet for a good year and a half. It was my first helmet that I ever got. I actually don't know who made it. I know that a couple other people used it before me, so I couldn't tell you exactly who made it. But this style in general, I did upgrade, and there's a good reason why, especially for me. So you can see on this helmet, it is a bassinet, so it's going to carry a lot of the same shape that the other ones we talked about had, only the visor is different. So this one, the visor, as you can tell, the eye holes actually didn't come that far out to the side, so my peripheral vision was non-existent in this helmet. And then the breathing... So the breathing on this helmet was not great, and that was one of the biggest reasons why I upgraded. As you can see, it curves downward. So rather than the Griffin, where it kind of angles outward, allowing for that air to escape. Yeah, so this one curves inward. Now that helps with protection. So when I get hit, and even later periods, they have the tournament style helmets, and so they'll have these big neck plates that go around, which is great for protection. But for me, it actually trapped a lot of my air in. Now, the holes aren't that great on this helmet, I will say, but the design trapped a lot of my air. And especially when I fight, I kind of tuck my chin a little bit, just kind of how I fight, and which sealed off that escape. So all my air was coming in and out of those small eye bars and whatever tiny little holes it could get out here. And so I was suffocating in this helmet, and it just wasn't working for me, so I had to upgrade. Another thing to point out on these helmets is that there are some weak spots. So it does glance most blows. But the bassinet carries two areas in particular that I think when a strike sticks, you'll actually feel it a lot more. And that one is right along the eyebrow. And so the eyebrow on these bassinets, it can vary based on the visor, but generally when a good strike sticks in your eyebrow, you're going to feel it a lot more than anywhere else. Downward strikes, no, they're going to glance off. If it sticks right in the eyebrow, especially on this one where the eye bars kind of poke out, yeah, you'll feel it. And then on the back, this one is a little flatter than some remain a little bit more angled, but generally the very, very back of the head, kind of the occipital area, you can feel a lot stronger hits on the bassinet there. So we already talked about some of the other benefits. This one, it didn't breathe that well. The vision wasn't that great. It was all right. Yep. But if you want to go with this style, I would recommend more the Grand Tournament style helmet of this visor.
Yeah. And then do you remember generally what the price was for ones that are styled this way?
I mean, generally you'll fit within around the mid, maybe high if you're going like fancier on the visor, but it's going to be relatively priced along with like a Griffin. I bought it used. It was my first helmet, and so I did not pay full price for it. I'm the third owner, I believe, of this helmet.
And then this is late 1200s, early 1300s, right?
That's more your 14th century. Yeah, 14th century.
So more in the 1300s.
Helmet. So the 1300s, 14th century, really big. Your most popular helmet's gonna be the bassinet.
Yeah. Is very unique, very recognizable, depending on how much medieval / ancient combat style movies that you watch. It's called the Barboot. It is modeled off of a very specific time period and specific region in the world that has gotten a lot of fame because of a couple of specific movies that I'm sure you'll recognize. So if you could pass me that. So what can you tell us about the Barboot?
So the Barboot has the very recognizable T-shape opening in the front. This gives you good side peripherals, but very bad lower peripherals. As well as it gives you good breathability as long as you can breathe straight out through that middle section. If you start breathing out to the sides, you then start getting a lot of CO2 buildup in there. But that's easily cleared by just blowing straight out or straight down. This one also has an Avantel on it, which some of them don't have. Grant, can you
So,
elaborate a little more on that?
Most barboots you find aren't gonna have a lot of aventails. They might have a male collar underneath. So this is just kind of attaching the two together, especially for safety purposes, because we have to have good neck protection. Now this helmet was actually, it is specific to 15th century Italy. So you're not gonna find a lot of barboots all over Europe. And it's really only during this time period that they used it. So as we know, during the Renaissance and the early modern period, they like to take a lot of inspiration from like the classical stuff. And so what you get is the old Corinthian style Greek helmet in a 15th century Italian version. And that's what the Barboot is.
Yeah.
So it offers a lot of benefits, but you have to stick to that time period, and that may be one reason why a lot of people don't have it, as well as the fact that it does have a lot more of contour shaping to it, and you may not find as many armorers that make those helmets, and it's going to cost a little bit more.
Yeah. After putting it on, I can say, first of all, this helmet is Ice Falcon, which is an American maker. And it does have a mirror finish, which is, that's a styling choice that they made for this, that some people do really like the mirror finish. It can certainly help with rust. After putting it on, I can say, yes, the peripheral vision is great. Once again, like my helmet, the vision goes part of the way back of the head. However, exactly what O2 said, these cheeks, it's like having a piece of cardboard in front of your face right here. You can't see anything that's going on with feet or hands that are down low. It is really nice breathing straight out. These bars right here, it's really easy to just breathe straight out of your mouth, which for those of you who may have difficulty breathing or have asthma, sports asthma, things of that nature, and have difficulty when you exert yourselves a lot, it could possibly be a good choice. But you got to understand, as Grant was saying, you're going to be wearing a very specific set of armor. With a lot of these other helmets, you can choose to wear armor that comes from a wide variety of different time periods and regions. But with this guy, you are buying a very specific set, and if you want to get a new set of arms, new chest piece, you're going to probably need to switch that helmet out with it as well. Here in America, they are not necessarily super strict about saying, hey, that one piece that you have on your arm doesn't match everything else on your set, take it off or you can't fight. But if you do go to international level competitions, you have to actually submit paperwork that demonstrates that the different pieces of armor that you have are from a specific time period and from a specific region, and that they all go together. All right, guys, we're on our last helmet for the day. Thank you so much for sticking with us this far. It is going to be our most unique helmet. It's called a Sallet. This one in particular has some differences from other Sallets that we'll go over, and this is Grant's current helmet that he uses to fight.
Yeah, so this is the helmet that I fight with, and it's actually a two-part helmet. There are some that are either welded or what we call a closed helm, where it's attached, but mine is separated into two pieces. So the Sallet is a extremely popular during the 15th century helmet. It's not as common or popular in the sport, and there's a reason why. One, it is a little bit trickier to use and make safe for the sport, and two, it's a little it requires a little bit more handiwork than a lot of other helmets, say like this nasal here, and so it's going to cost a little bit more. Now, not all Sallets look like mine. So mine is a little different. It's stylized slightly differently. Normally, this back part comes down a little bit further. Some of the poor man's Sallets were not quite finished as much, and so it kind of stays a little bit more angled back. And for that, I have a hidden metal plate here. So if people are like, oh, that doesn't look safe, no, it's fairly safe. I have this hidden metal plate, and then the back of my bever here is pretty thick and strong as well. So this comes up to the base of my neck. It's covered with that hidden plate, and so even if it looks like it's kind of open in the back, it's not. But then there are a lot of other Sallets that cover that, such as the lobster tail style, which is common for the German style Sallets, and so it has like articulated plates that go down and cover the back of your neck and spine.
Let me jump in here. So we talked about the Great Helm is a helmet that's generally shaped with this boxy nature. The bassinets have the curve on the head, and then the Barboot has the T-face, solid piece, and a little bit curved to the body. So what exactly makes a Sallet? helmet?
So, one, it is a two-part helmet. So the Sallet, the actual helmet itself, covers the top 3/4 of your face, or the top half of your face and head, as well as the bever covering the lower half. And so this visor is a little bit longer, sometimes they're a lot shorter than this. This is a visored Sallet because many didn't have visors, common for archers and crossbowmen to use. And then it's that overbite look that you see for a lot of helmets, so that the big overbite with the chin piece that kind of covers your lower face. And so historically, you know, a Sallet would be used by itself without a bevor, but you need that to make it safe for the sport. Mine is separated, so it does make it a little trickier to keep the good overlap so you don't have any gaps on your face, because you don't want that. Also, a lot of people move to a closed Sallet, and so that's just a hinge point that goes down and attaches this here. But the shaping is generally, it has the center ridge that goes along. It encourages glancing blows. We've actually shown 2 other Sallets, so in our last video about steel, John Chaney has a couple Sallets and he talks about those, and so you can see a couple other styles. His black one that he has is a lobster tail. This is visored. It offers, for me, some of the best vision and breathing I've ever felt on a helmet. Mm-hmm. So this eyepiece actually comes out pretty far. It gives me great peripheral and upper vision. If you don't have the holes in the face though, or you have a solid visor or a solid bevor, you will limit your vision. But mine actually has those holes in it, as well as this bevor down here has some big openings. So when I breathe out, and I can exhale all of my stuff, breathe in fresh air through my eyes, or through the that opening in the face.
Yeah. So one thing that I noticed, Grant, as I was putting this on, is that this thing, unlike my helmet, so my helmet goes down very far, where in certain positions it'll actually be sitting on my shoulders. So I'm not having to carry that helmet except with my whole body. With this Sallet, when I put it on, it's all my head and neck. Like every bit of the weight is on my head the whole time.
Yes, so that is a feature about the Sallet that you have to take into account. So the bevor will sit, and not all have the 2-piece. Some are just the front that straps around, or like a tournament style that'll attach to the chest. So that weight will sit up onto your torso. The helmet itself, it's all on your head. And so one thing that I noticed is my neck muscles had to get a lot stronger from moving to this up to this, because my head is now carrying all the weight. That does help with my mobility because I can turn my head. I'm a lot more aware on the field. So that is the benefit, but the downside is my neck, the back of my neck is carrying all of that weight. Here in the US, we use what we call a retention strap, and so that holds your helmet or attaches it to your chest piece for safety. They don't really use it internationally or in Europe, but here in the US, most leagues will require it. And I actually use that to my benefit. So it does kind of hold it in place and will alleviate a little bit of strain when I lean forward, just to let that strap take it. But generally, yeah, you're going to feel it more on your head because you're carrying the whole top half just on your head. There's no resting on your shoulders.
Yep.
If I could jump in, the one thing that I want to point out with this helmet, as opposed to these other metal colored helmets, is the black on the visor and the black on the bevor, as well as on the pig face. So this is a process called blackening. So there is other ways to get a different colored helmet or to stylize your helmet other than painting it. Like painting is going to chip, it's going to get cut off with different weapon strikes. The blackening is going to permanently, like not entirely, but for the most part, change the color of the metal.
And it's funny you say that because Sallets were historically often painted, so a lot of people would paint their Sallets with various designs and whatnot. I actually went with a 2-tone color, mainly for the aesthetic of it, because I really like it and it makes it pretty unique. So the black on the bevor and the visor, those require very little maintenance. If I do have to scrub off some rust or whatnot, it's going to be on this gunmetal finish back here, which isn't as shiny as this mirror, but it does get pretty rusty sometimes.
And then, as we talked about before, this helmet is a Ryan Weaver special. He has made a lot of the helmets because he's a local friend and also one of the best blacksmiths. He was actually on the show Night Fight, If any of you saw that on the History Channel, it is available online for purchase as well.
He's
so you
also
can-
on Forged in Fire for an episode.
also on Forged in Fire. So he's really good guy.
As going historically, we have great helms, we have various styles of bassinets, we have some Italian Sallet and Barboot, and then of course there are many other styles of helmets that we don't have here to show you, and so if you do want some of those, go talk to somebody else who carries one if you can find them.
And then 1200s, moving into the 1300s, moving into the 1400s.
Late 1400s over here.
Yep. And then we also have it by price. Cheapest is over here, getting more expensive, and most expensive. And then we have, the great helms were used during the Crusades, as well as by a couple of different places in Europe. The nasal helm is Germanic. Do you remember the region of the pig?
I do
pig
not
mouth?
know particularly that visor, but...
Okay, but the Griffin and the nasal being Germanic, but Griffin being used in a wide variety of countries. So these give you a lot of room to move, and then Italian and...
That is an Italian style, but generally you're going to find the German and Italian style Sallets.
Okay. All right, so we really appreciate you guys sticking with us for the whole time. So please check down below for a list of individual makers. You'll be able to see our website where you're going to be able to get a lot more information as well. We really love when you guys like and subscribe because it helps the channel so that we can continue to grow and provide a lot more information for everyone who's starting up, or even people who are experienced and maybe don't know about all the different types of weapons that they could have. If you have any questions or anything, we're very responsive, so please leave a comment down below. And we just once again thank you guys for coming out and talking to us here at the Salt Lake City Crusaders. You guys have a wonderful day.